All right, morning. So today, new episode of SaaS Dads with the awesome Andy Audate. Andy, how are you, buddy?
I'm feeling phenomenal today, man. How are you?
I'm pretty good, mate. So, Andy, I've been talking to a bunch of dads who've run their SaaS businesses or building their SaaS businesses while they've got a young family. Now, you are the newest SaaS dad that I know. You just had your little girl 4 weeks ago, give or take.
Yes, 29 days ago.
29 days, mate. So you are, I don't know, you're probably just coming, well, I don't know, you're going through the new baby and how do I deal with life and all these kind of things at the moment. It's definitely, I don't know, is it what you expected?
No, that's actually not. What I expected was more so like what I did as a babysitter, from time to time, and then realizing like, oh, I am that. It's just 24/7. And
24/7.
I remember I did a podcast. Ironically, I did a podcast like 2 years ago or so with my wife, and I used this as an analogy. I said, as a babysitter, you're only responsible for the baby in that moment. As a parent, you're responsible for that baby when they're with the babysitter, when they're wherever they're at in the world, you're still responsible for your child. And
Mm.
in the context back then, I was talking about how employee is responsible for a portion of a business for a period of time, but the business owner is responsible all the time for the business, whether they're working or not. But now being in the shoes of a father, I realized that like, wow, I am responsible for this child no matter what, no matter where I'm at. And it's completely different than being a babysitter for sure.
Yeah, it's something that people, even if they try to explain it to you before you've had a kid, you can't grasp it. You just can't grasp the difference that it suddenly makes having this little human being that you're suddenly responsible for. You're like, even when like you take them home from hospital, I remember like you go, yeah, I don't really have a guidebook for this. I'm not too sure what I'm doing, but I guess
Yeah.
we're going to figure it out. And it's well, I guess it's like business a lot in that journey. We don't really have a playbook for an exact playbook for everything that's going to happen in business. We've got steps, we've got processes and things that we can follow, but there's always curveballs that come in as well. So,
Hmm.
um, for people that know you or people that don't know you as well, I just want to make sure that people get a little bit of background on Andy and what you've done. So you're a gold SaaSpreneur. I think this year you're getting a platinum award. Is that right?
Platinum.
Platinum.
Platinum, yes.
Awesome stuff. Be excited to see you in Dallas for that, mate. So you got Platinum SaaS. You have various courses and training to help people on becoming a SaaSpreneur and selling through webinars and stuff like that. So you're definitely the webinar guy. I think that's what everybody knows you for. And you've already done that. So you're a little bit different. That's why like you're the new dad on the block here. So I'm excited to hear this conversation on how life has changed for Andy. So you've already built a good business. You've had a solid trajectory without having children through that phase. And now life's changing for you or changed a lot in the last 4 weeks. And now you're going to fold everything together with your business, your new daughter. And then is there any change in your perspective of life now that you actually have this responsible or child that you're responsible for?
Well, I've experienced the most amount of emotions. Like where I'm from the East Coast in the United States, and where it's like a concrete jungle, they call it, because it's a lot of rugged mentality, like hustle, grind, and so on and so forth. And coming from that environment, emotions has always been suppressed.
Hmm.
And my the doula is like or midwife, actually had my baby at home.
Okay.
So we had our baby in our bedroom. Most people go to the doctor's office. I'm not a fan. I wasn't a fan of that. I like the idea of like having a baby and then going into bed and sleeping for that, that night and having that type of experience. And so the team that was at my house, my room was big enough to have all these people there. The team who was at my room helping my wife deliver the baby, she took a photo when the baby was born. And you can just see like as soon as the baby was coming out, it's like I'm crying, I'm tears all over my face. And then from there, just realizing the amount of emotion the first week, the second week of being a dad, and realizing like I was part of making you, and
Mm.
you're my blood, and everything that I've been working so hard for. Gary, the reason that I started a business is because I knew one day I wanted to be a parent, and I said to myself like I want to be a present parent, and I know that if I go work like a 9 to 5 job, um, I don't have any control. I don't have any control of my time. And when I get to that stage of having kids, I want to have control of my time. And coming to this point where, I took essentially a month off And I'm just like, hey, like whenever you need me, if anything, if I'm available and I have spare time, I'll go on my computer, spend 2 or 3 hours kind of watching Zoom call recordings or seeing the stats of my company and recording videos for our clients, kind of giving an update and writing newsletters, which really has only taken me like 3 working days a week. So Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And it's like between like 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. So about 4 hours. So I've scaled down to like just 12 hours a week where I just do a podcast like this, a couple emails, chat with my team, how's everything, and then I just go back to spending time with my family. But throughout that journey has been such an emotional roller coaster of experience of emotions. Seeing my daughter born, seeing her here.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, thank you for giving us part of your time today, mate. I really appreciate that you've done this. I think we rescheduled one because you've rescheduled your life and calendarized things so that you can help out at home with your wife. And I think we rescheduled our last one because you're like, no, this is my slot for the feeding and the taking care of my daughter at this point. So
Yeah.
thanks for making the space here, mate. I really appreciate that too.
I was talking to Matt DeCino from HR Pro Tools. He flew into Las Vegas and we were hanging out for a day and we were doing like a podcast and just hanging out and talking business and so forth and life. And one of the things that we were discussing was like saying no, the
Mm.
value of saying no. And I never really embodied saying no. I was like the yes man, like the opportunities didn't show up. So I'll show up to whatever opportunity. And that's how I grew my business. Like I'll go to any event, every event that's possible. I'll go to the conferences, I go to the webinars, I go to the trainings, I'll go to whatever because I know that the opportunity that I'm looking for is when I show up. But then there comes a time, I think, when you got to actually start saying no. So even the high level conference that's coming up right now at the point of time that we're recording this is September 2025 and the high levels conference is coming up. And I said no. I sent the email to them and I said, hey, I'm not coming out to the event. And because I started to look at my calendar and I started saying no to this, no to that, no to this, no to that, no to that. And then after the baby was born, I started which is in the last month, I started looking at my calendar and I said, hey, instead of saying no to everything, say yes to high leverage activities.
Mhm.
So it's like, yes, I'll come to the the Dallas event if I speak. That's an example. Okay, that's a high leverage activity. So if I'm speaking on stage, then yes, I'll go out to the Dallas event. Or if it's a podcast with someone that I genuinely like, I've said no to the most amount of podcasts in the last month. If it's someone that I genuinely like, I've done business with, I have a relationship with, I want to grow that relationship. Like, okay, yes, I'll do that podcast, right? Or changing things inside of my business. And I think this is cool for new dads that are listening too. Is like you can be very creative with how you operate your business. I'll give you one quick example. Yesterday, one of our SaaS subscribers, we did a strategy session with them where I went over their customer process and onboarding procedures and things of that nature, right? And we scheduled that to be meeting at my office. And then I said, hey, you know what? Instead of meeting at my office, I want you to drive down to my recording studio. And I have this huge studio that I rent out and, lights, cameras, actions, microphone, podcast studio, amazing stuff. Andrew Tate was there, Grant Cardone was there, a bunch of other folks go there and record. And I said, come out to my studio and we'll do the session in person, but I would like to record it and use it for social media content. And what I was doing there, Gary, is I was double dipping. I got their permission, of course, and I was double dipping because I was in a place where my team is like, hey, can you record content? And my customer success manager is like, hey, can you help this customer to give them value strategically? And I'm like, okay, which one do I do? It started off as the either or conversation. Either I do the content or I do the strategy for the client to use our white label SaaS. And then I'm like, instead of having an either or conversation, let me have a both and conversation. And the both and conversation is like, instead of meeting at my office, we'll meet at the studio. And then when we meet at the studio, I'm going to put a mic in front of both the two partners. I'm gonna put a mic in front of you both. I'll have a mic and I'll have a whiteboard. We'll record the whole entire thing. I'll use it as a YouTube video. Can we do that? And like, yeah, I have no problem with that. That's going to help them promote their business. That's going to help promote my business. And we accomplished a strategy session. And my team is like, yes, the marketing team is like, yes, thank you for the social media content. Like that gives me a lot. There's 2 hours of content. There's so many reels I can pull from this. And then the client is like, thank you for supporting me. And the customer support manager is like, thank you for helping me with my retention on my MRR because you supported this customer. So it's like a, triple dipping in this scenario.
Yeah.
and then I get out of the house as well. So by doing all of this strategically, you can, yes, have a child and also still run a business, and you just got to be more strategic with your time.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like we talk about that a lot. I mean, I still say yes to a lot of things. There's more things that I should say no to. And I think part of that is like that journey too, of like prioritizing your time. Kids put a whole new focus on it, right? It's like, oh, hang on a minute. All these things I said yes to before, that's not as important as spending time with my child, helping my wife, whatever it might be, right? But I think going through that journey as well, I would I would say that saying yes a lot of the time is important when you are beginning, because that's part of your education, I think, because you don't learn what's not valuable unless you said yes to it along the way, and then you start to learn that, and then you start to understand what's important, what you can say no to, and leverage your time. And Danny Clark, who was on here as well, we did a SaaS Dads with Danny Clark. Do you know Danny? He's one of
I
the
know Danny.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
know Danny. So yeah, he's a platinum SaaSpreneur guy in the UK. Had a great chat with him, and he talks a lot about this, about leveraging time. And then I actually just listened to a podcast with him with Vit from the High Level Experience the other day, and he's talking
Yeah.
about exactly these things that you were just saying, right? How you've leveraged that time to create the podcast, so you've got social media while you're helping the client at the same time. And Danny had a great thing. He was talking about his millionaire flywheel that he's talking about. And he was giving the example of his wife, who runs, I don't know if she still runs or she used to run, a bridal makeup business. So she would go to a wedding, she would do the makeup for the bride and the bridesmaids and the hair, take photos of them, post that on social media. People would see the pictures on social media. Then they would want her to do their hair and makeup. So she'd do their hair and makeup. She would take photos of them, put that on social media. So it's this perpetual flywheel of like getting jobs from doing jobs.
Hmm.
And he gave me a great idea from that, which is very similar to what you've just said, because every single week we do open office hours for our
Is
clients.
it for your oh yeah, for your clients? Okay.
Yeah, for our clients. So it's like, come along, whatever questions you've got about, just text marketing, even if it's high level, just managing your business, like whatever you need, come along. We'll try and help you in that hour and answer your questions. Come one, come all. We'll all work together to help you out. And I thought, well, and sorry, going back, Danny had talked about that with the flywheel with his wife and the makeup, and how he was then working with someone who was a business coach. And he said, how long are your coaching sessions that you do with clients? And he said, well, they're an hour. He said, well, could you do the coaching session in 55 minutes? And then the last 5 minutes, just ask everyone, what did they learn? Grab a snippet from what they learned in that coaching session, and then you've got your social media content proof for the next week. And then you just keep doing that. So I then thought, okay, we need to apply this to our open office hours, because people will come along, we'll help them. We can just say, hey, could you just explain what you just learned that we could then use for our social media? Get them to just say it on the Zoom, grab that. We've got snippets, and then we can keep going. So leveraging time, as you're saying, is really, really important. But going through that journey of not knowing what's important, I think is just part of the fundamental path of life anyway, because you don't know what you don't know until you start to know it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like if you can double dip with if you can double dip your leverage of time, man, in so many different ways. Like when I do my coaching calls, many times, like even right now, I have my camera on the side, my Osmo Pocket 3, where I can just record that and then snip those out, right? Or if you can you do coaching in group sessions? Can you consult in group sessions? Can you figure out how to train your team and train your clients at the same time through social media as a dad? I think it's how do you leverage your time and be much more strategic? And I think that's the journey that I'm on now, being a month in, is
Mm.
how do I become more strategic and have relationships? Like for example, I do a lot of the webinars, right? I'm the webinar guy. I do a lot of the webinars. I do one webinar a month, but even that, I'm even asking myself, like, could I just have my team do the webinar for me in a different way, right? And still, we'll do a webinar a month, but could I do something different strategically so that way I can take maybe, a month off? Like, how cool would it be to be like 3 months off per se and doing some other things with the family? I never got a chance to experience that.
Yeah.
I would love to. I would love to.
Yeah, so it sounds like, yeah, and it's really interesting. You said like you really thought about this, obviously, like building your business. You wanted to be a present dad. what drove you to want to be that? So for me, I've got very much the same thought process as you, right? I wanted to have flexibility and be able to spend time with my son because I come from my parents divorced when I was young. So I was like 4 when they divorced. Didn't really see my dad very often. Would see him kind of at weekends. Then like we just really didn't connect after I was about 15. So never really had a lot to do with my dad. Didn't have a great relationship with him as such, not very close. And I really missed that personally. As I've grown up, I realized what I missed by not having that relationship with my dad and someone that you can go and ask questions to. Always looked up to my dad. I think everybody looks up to their dad when they're young. So kind of
Yep.
always looked up to him, wanted that connection, but just it was never really there because they were separate. My dad wasn't that much of an emotional type person anyway. He was just kind of like fob you off and this, that, and the other. And that made me determined to be a very different dad myself. It's funny how some people will follow the path that they've been on, their families, however they are, and they'll just continue that family path. And other people go, no, I want to change this. And I took a big change and said, no, I want to change this. I want to be much more connected, present with my son. What was it that drove you when you're like building your business and thinking about that to go, hey, I want to be there for my family. I want to be there for my kids. I want to build this business so I've got time with my kids. What was that for you?
The my family, man, and this is me being transparent, especially this is about dads and so forth. My family had a I know I saw the desire to do more, but the resources were never there.
Mm,
So there's a relationship with finances that I have where I grew up with a lack. There's a lack of financial resources. I saw the moments where my parents only had $50 in their bank account, still
mm,
smiling like, let's push through. But when I want that $30 thing and they have $50 in their bank account, it's gonna be a no. Or when I want that $100 thing and it's only $30 in their bank account, it's like there's a no. And it didn't mean that there was more quality time because there was less finances. It's
mm,
that it was less quality time because like when I see a family, for example, today, I don't know what the average household income is in America, but I know it's low, right? I know it's low and it's absolutely low. But when I see, for example, a mother who works, let's say, at a local fast food chain, they're working 60 hours a week. They got the 40 hours main, and then they find 20 hours of overtime somehow. They spread it on Saturday and Sunday. So then now they're 7 days in. They spread it on taking other people's shifts after their main shift and before their main shift. So end up working 60 hours a week. So they're out of the house. They come home to the house. They come home. They're barely scraping by in the first place. And then they got to do the laundry.
mm,
Plus, they got to set up the snacks and for the kids. And then the wife and the husband are like together, and they're trying to make a relationship work, but they're both grinding. One works at McDonald's, the other one works at whatever restaurant, another restaurant, and they're both combined are just scraping by, and they
mm,
still try to take care of the household. And when I see that many times, man, I, I'll just notice it's hard to keep the house. They don't have time to spend with the kids. They send the kids to school. The kids come home, and it's like, Dad's at work. I'm with you, but I'm not really with you because I'm trying to clean up the house. I'm trying to, do the laundry. I'm trying to prepare a dinner for you. So I'm not really with you. And then the kid is off to their own. That's where the kid is looking for guidance. And as they're looking for guidance, they fall into the streets. At least where I'm from, they fall
mm,
into the streets. There's
mm,
gang activity because the gangs are going to say, come here, I'll show you how to be a man. Come here, I'll show you how to be a lady. Come here, I'll spend time with you. I'll give you attention.
mm,
And the parents can't do that. And the reason why I see that the parents can't do that is it's not because they don't have a desire to. They don't have the skill set or the know-how to level up their life and to make double the income per hour, triple the income per hour. So when I look at two parents who are running a household and they both make just the minimum, the dad, for example, could say, "Hey, I know I want to work. I'm a worker. I'm a workaholic. I know I'm going to work." Okay, cool. How can the dad make the same amount of income that the mom is making and leave her to work from home? Or
mm,
how can the dad make double what he would have made at the restaurant and double what the mom would have made at the restaurant? So now they're able to spend more time at home, have the weekends to themselves, and the parent. I didn't have that growing up. My parents were working tremendously just to make ends meet, and the ends that were met, there was never even a buffer for dinners, for like going out and spending time out, outside of the house for dinners. So when I used to develop my business, Gary, I developed my business strategically in a way that I can choose when I want to work and when I don't want to work.
Mm.
I respect your time, but realistically, today, if there was a need for me to put attention on my family today, I would send my executive assistant a text message. I would say clear my calendar, and that's it. My calendar's cleared. I believe entrepreneurs need to have that type of leverage inside of their life. Now, there's a whole other philosophy on like relationships and not canceling meetings and things of that nature, for sure. But the reality is, I know that I'm not going to get fired from me taking a day off
Yeah.
in my company, right?
Mm.
And if my daughter needs me to go to a dance recital, and she's like, "This moment means so much to me," my decision today is that right now my daughter's 4 weeks old. So when that time comes around in 6 years or so, the decision that I have today is like I'm gonna set myself up that I'm gonna have subordinates and team members to operate the business without me. That's the stage that I'm at right now. Maybe, I don't know, Gary, you have more experience than I do. You're a mentor to me in this aspect as far as time. Maybe in a few years I may change, but for now, I'm setting up my business in a way that's not dependent on Andy. So that way I can choose when I work and when I don't work.
No, I think that's definitely the aspirational goal that people are trying to do when they set up their own business is like, how can I do this and leverage my time and leverage everything and not be required to be in the seat X number of hours per day or whatever it is. I was
Yeah.
wondering, Andy, because I think about this a lot too, right? Is that when I grew up, as I said, like my parents were divorced, like we lived with my mum, me and my sister. I mean, my mum kind of got by as a secretary. We didn't like we had what we had. Well, I wouldn't say we were, you know, missed out on stuff exactly, but we definitely weren't wealthy growing up. We just we had a roof over our head. We went to school. There was meals every day kind of thing. We definitely didn't miss out. My mum worked hard to provide and make sure that we didn't miss out. But we didn't have a lot extra. Like we didn't have what I've got now as a parent to my son. And I'm quite, there's days I don't even know how to figure this out with him to make him have gratitude.
One kid,
Yeah, just the one.
one boy.
Yeah, just one boy. So Finn, he's
Okay.
he's just coming up for 8. He'll be 8 in a month's time. But to make him have gratitude for what we've built for him in a way, because we've done all the same things, like exactly what you're talking about there. We wanted to build a life and a family and a home and everything that would be good for our family, right?
Yeah.
And to the point where this is very common where I live anyway. I'm not sure about in Vegas, right? But I mean, it's very common where I live that people have swimming pools in their backyard, right? So we have a swimming pool. We have a very nice swimming pool. That's not uncommon anyway. Most people, or generally a lot of people, will in Queensland and where I live. But we were talking about a friend of his who was going to go to their house or something, but they didn't have a pool, and he was like, "They don't even have a swimming pool." I was like, "No, I was like, no, mate, you got to understand, like, not having a swimming pool is a privilege. It might be a fact that, yeah, it's not that uncommon where we live anyway, but it's a privilege. Like, when I grew up, I grew up in England. I live in Australia now. I live in a beautiful climate in the subtropics. I grew up in England. It's freezing cold. It's raining half the time, sleet, snow the rest of the time. You're wearing jackets and hoodies and boots, and it's freezing. Even if you could have a swimming pool, you'd never want to get in it because it'd be like an ice bath. I was like, this is a privilege. This is a privilege that we've got all these things. And he doesn't understand that because, I mean, he's still only young, but it's just normal to him. It's normal that we have a nice house. We have a swimming pool. We have nice cars. We go out for dinner, like every week we go out for dinner, at least once a week kind of thing. That's normal for him. And I'm trying to make him have gratitude and understand that this isn't normal. Like, we've worked very hard to get this. This didn't just happen. Like, you are going to need to work hard to get this. I'm not giving you all of this. And I'm still trying to get that path with him to make him understand that there's work. Do you think about that with your daughter? And I don't know if you're going to have other kids, you're going to extend your family or however that's going to go for you, or whatever it is that you want there, to try and still make sure that they understand the grind that Andy's gone through? Because I know you've worked very hard to get where you are. And how can you instill that work ethic still into your kids and make sure that they don't just sit back at us. Dad's done it all. I'm going to be daddy's little princess, and he's going to care for me forever.
Yeah, I don't know how yet to instill similar desires, or because I heard a quote one time where it's like one generation earns it, or one generation earns it, another one learns it. Pretty much
it's like one works for it, one earns it, the next one loses it. Basically, it's something.
Yeah, something of that nature. Like there's three generations deep, and like essentially, like in my generation, my parents' generation is like they went through the challenge, the grit, and I'm able to step on their shoulders. And I'm not faulting my parents. My parents created success in their eyes, I believe. I think we all have that moment where we realize our parents are humans. They're not the superheroes that we made them out to be perfect. Like they're human as well, and they had their experience, especially maybe like when you turn like 25, like 30, like you're like, oh shoot, like I'm the same age that my parents were at one point. Well, shoot, and I barely got the shit together.
I don't actually know everything.
Yeah, and I thought, exactly. I thought my parents knew everything, right?
Yeah. No.
My parents come from an super poor area in Haiti, and to leave Haiti and come to the United States, my mom built a business. There was a time that she had a business. My dad got a degree. Both my parents got a degree. Did the college thing, made a steady income, and we always had a roof over our head. We never did the homeless shelter or things of that nature, and it wasn't like a drug infested in our home or anything. So like they created a tremendous amount of success compared to like where they came from, and that allowed me to stand on their shoulders and say, like, while I was building my first business, I used to own a cell phone kiosk in the malls. And when I was building that first business, I could have complained about how things were challenging, things were tough, whatever, but I always had a place to go home, and I never had to pay rent in that example, right? I wasn't paying rent. So like now as an adult, my perspective is different because yes, like as a child, I remember saying like, man, like I can't buy the extra sneakers, man. I can't buy the extra whatever. We're not going on family trips, man. We suck. And then as I got older, and I'm like, okay, well, there's health insurance. My parents always had health insurance for the household, right? There were some months that we didn't have enough oil for the heat in the house, so we would shiver, but we always had the house. We always had the house. Not that I remember ever was it in jeopardy that we might lose our home. So those moments, right? We always had it. Now, our car might have not been the car of the year, but it might have been a 15-year-old car. However, we had a car that would get us from point A to point B. Sometimes it would break down in the middle of the journey, but hey, it got us to point A to point B 95% of the time. So like, I'm changing my perspective. My theory is I get to train and raise my daughter to stand on my shoulders. And most importantly, not teach her just what I did, but teach her the lessons, because I think the technology is going to be different for her. She's coming into a world as a baby with artificial intelligence today, and it's a different world. But how do I show her the journey that she must embark on to grow and expand, and give her a vision that's big enough for her to accomplish? I think that's the journey that I'm going to be on, because my friend, I could easily put her in a place where her vantage point of the world is life is made. We got cleaners in the house. We got nannies. We got people who clean the house, who wash cars for us. My dad taught me how to, like, I would go under the car to change the oil, right? I know that one. Today, Mercedes picks up my car, does something with it, and comes back, and the oil's changed and the car's changed, right? I don't mind being a part of that anymore. But I realized, like, okay, do I need to go back to that and like show her that? I don't think so. I think if anything, I got to show her like what life is today. But let me show you what it takes. Sit down here and sit down here. Sometimes I'll have her here with me. Watch me do a podcast. Sit down here. Watch me do a webinar. I was talking to Johan. We did an event last week. His unofficial event, and we did a webinar. And one of the things that he has kids that are, I think, 7 and 9, And he was like, have your daughter be with you watch while you're doing a webinar. And then what I started doing recently, even though my daughter's only 4 weeks old, is I'll play a webinar right as she's sleeping. Let's put a webinar there or a podcast and it's just let it nurture and be like, hey, this is your norm. Learn these things so that way you can start applying and have the principles when you get to 10 years old, when you get to 15 years old. So am I nervous? Not so much. Am I excited? Yes. But I do know that there's a possibility if I don't do it right, I can therefore make her into a brat. Or if I do it right, I can at least have her step on my shoulders and build a bigger empire as we grow.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good. I like what you said there about thinking like, oh, do I need to go back to going under the hood of the car and teaching that? No, you probably don't. Teach her different ways to go. Hey, this is a different way to do things, and I think you're right there. But it is hard to do, and especially like you just touched on there, like AI coming in, like you don't even know what school's going to be like when your daughter goes to school in like 5 years' time. It's like, what are they going to school for? What are they going to be learning? It's like my son at the moment. He's I'm just looking around. He just walked in. He just walked in the back of the room and making sure he's gone. But he's at school. He's very, very smart. My son, like he's super smart. He is a massive reader. Like he reads novels. He's 7. He read like the whole Harry Potter series when he was like 5.
Yeah.
Like,
wow.
Wicked smart. But he doesn't like writing. So there's a bit of a battle at the moment with school and getting him to write, because he can do it really well. Like he can write great stories. His vocabulary for a 7-year-old is incredible. And when he sits there and he does it, he can write amazing stories. But he doesn't like to. He says it's boring. He's like, it's boring. I don't want to write. It's boring. And we're trying to get him to do this because I do think it's important to kind of write. But at the same time, I'm like, there's AI, there's voice to text. Like I don't write. Like I write little notes. I've got a notepad where I write down my things for the day next to me. My writing is terrible. But I barely even type anymore. I talk to the screen. I do looms and turn them into SOPs. I talk to ChatGPT and say, hey, I need a Facebook post on this and just explain it. And then it puts out a great Facebook post for me. It's like the value of actually writing. I'm starting to question it as well. It's like, what's that going to be like in a few years' time? And then what's it going to be like when Neuralink starts really getting plugged in? 'Cause I mean, that's starting now. They've got that with people. They can control things with their mind. I don't know when that will become mainstream, but then suddenly you're going to have instant access to the internet and everything. Like, I don't know where education's even going. And my son's just started that journey, like in 2 years of school. And I'm like, I don't know how much value there is in it anymore. I'm really not sure.
I don't know, man. I don't know what it's gonna look like within the future. But I definitely wanna have her step on my shoulders. So like in a way, for example, I know there are some parents and that are gonna say, well, I need to teach my daughter or my son how to change the oil because I was taught how to change the oil.
Mm.
I was taught how to change the oil, right? And so I need to teach them, I need to teach them that. But then when we look at the reality, do we change the oil that way? Like my dad, for example, who's in the 60s, the way that he did math, he didn't do math with calculators. So does that mean that I need to not do math with calculators and not be taught how to use a calculator effectively? I mean, technology has grown so fast that I can use a calculator to get the same outcome of the math and just get it done even faster. So what do we value? And so in my scenario, I'm going to teach my daughter about artificial intelligence. I'm going to teach her about business. I'm going to teach her monthly recurring revenue. A lot of the things that I had to learn maybe in the last X amount of years or over time, I'm going to teach her like, hey, leveraging other people working. Like, do I, because I worked at Wendy's. Wendy's is a fast food place here in the United States. Because I worked at that fast food joint, do I need to show my daughter how to work fast food? Maybe. Or I could just show her from 7 years old how to hire people in her class to help her to leverage other people's hours to support her in her vision. I'd rather teach her that. I'd rather show her like, hey, take this bubble gum, have other people in your school, and go sell it for a nickel, and go make some money, right? Or ask them for a portion of their Bitcoin wallet, and they're 6 years old. I don't know if that's what the future is going to look like in 6 years. Our kids going to have Bitcoins. I don't know.
Probably.
But if that's the case, man, I'd rather say, hey, let me show you that. Because when she's 10 years old, when she's 16 years old, when she's 15 years old, she's going to be like, man, I've been hiring people since I was 5. You see, today I was 19, I was 21 years old. When I turned 21, I made my first million. At 19 years old, I started my first business. At 19 years old, I had 14 employees working for me. That's because my mom had a business when I was in 5th grade. So around 10 years old, she was showing me how to hire people. And
Mm.
that was the standard. So I remember in at 11 years old, 12 years old, I hired a gentleman down the street from my house and we went out and we shoveled snow. We shoveled snow and raked leaves. I hired him and then I hired somebody else and then I had marketing flyers and I'm 12 years old and the flyers look so amazing that you would think I used paint back then. It's like Canva, but
Oh, yeah,
older, right?
Microsoft Paint. Yeah.
Microsoft Paint, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so I'm creating these flyers and it looks like I'm like, dude, he knows what he's talking about. Back then, it wasn't as good as Canva. I would take screenshots of different letters to make it work. Like it was a bunch of, but I would print out these flyers and I went to a company called Fast Signs in the United States and I print out these flyers and I hang them out and people would call and I'll be like, hello, deep in my voice, hello, thank you for calling A&A's landscaping. How can I help you? Come in the house and then they realize like I'm a 12-year-old kid, right? And I'm like, hey, me and my employees are coming here to shovel your snow and rake your lawn. And we would do all that. By the time I turned 19, I was like, man, I've been doing this since I was a kid. Having 14 employees who work for me and over a dozen staff members and payroll and taxes, all of that was ingrained in me younger when I was young. And that's because I saw my mom do it. So if I could see my daughter can see me do it, I can only believe that she's gonna stand on your shoulders. Your son seeing you build your SaaS. I can only assume that when he's like 12, 15 years old, he's going to be typing, clicking on his computer, building something, and then my AI, whatever, my AR sim, whatever SaaS he creates in the future. But him
Mm.
understanding that and seeing you do that, I think he's going to step on your shoulders versus say, my dad is trying to bring me to teach me what he knew when he was my age. No, we gotta live a little differently today.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty excited about that because he's starting to get into that age, and you'll find this. You'll go through the stages. Obviously, like you got a 4-week-old baby now. Like there's not much that you can do with them at the moment. You're just purely taking care of them, and there's these real stages they go through from like first word to then starting to walk a little bit, and then starting to run, and you will see all these stages they go through, and he's really going into a great stage now at 7 where he's really, really thinking deeply about stuff. And you can just see now now is time to start sort of nudging him towards that sort of thing and thinking about like I can't wait to set up his first online business. Like I'm going to do it with him. Like it doesn't matter what it is, how it works. Just go, mate. What are you interested in? Let's figure it out. Let's build you a website. Let's get a bit of traffic to it. Let's just see if you can make $1. If you can make $1 online, you're off to the races, mate. Honestly,
His mind will be blown.
Yeah.
And then you give him the money, like you give him the dollar, like it probably goes to your merchant, but then you give him the dollar, and then he's like, "Wait, so this is mine?" Yeah, because of what you did online.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you want to do with it? Let's go buy ice cream. That cognitive response of I took an action, I gave value online on the internet, and then in return I made actual money, and then I went out and got ice cream with it or a toy or whatever. I think that is much more impactful than teaching them how to change the oil because you did it in 1990, 1999.
Yeah, we got to get to that, and it's starting to get that time. And we've like as parents, so what we've done as well, and this is against all of that. It was like we've kept him off screens. Like he's 7, like just going to be coming up to 8. We've actually kept him off screens though for his early years because I don't know. There's studies about all this, and then there's things that say it's good, things that say it's bad, and it depends on how you use screens and educational things on iPads or whatever it might be. But our view was like we'll just keep him off screens for now while he's very young, and like he's got books, he's got toys. Like I make him get bored. Like he's bored. I'm like, good, go find something to do. Right? You're not just putting the TV on. Right? The TV is off limits in our house, basically. Like there's no remotes for him. He can't get access to that stuff. So he has to go and think of things to do. But we're starting to get to that point now where it's like he's like computers are going to be there, right? They're not going away. Mm-hmm. So we have to get him onto technology as well. It's not like he's never going to have technology. And we're starting to get to that point.
Do you have blockers on the computer? Do you have like, I don't know, parent control blockers type of thing on the computer?
Yeah, Dad says no.
Is that the parent blocker?
Yeah, Dad says no. Like he's not allowed to play with my phone. Like he cannot play with my phone. Like I know a lot of parents do that. The phone is kind of part of a babysitter, and I get why people do that. I've just always been very much no. You don't play with my phone. This is a $2,000 iPhone. It's not a toy. Like you don't get to
Yeah,
play with it.
yeah.
So always been like that. But now there's a stage, and I'm excited for when I can get him into that to understand what is online, what is the internet, because there's a lot of stuff on there they shouldn't see or do or get access to, and you can't. I mean, you can blockers, controllers. There's things on YouTube, whatever that they shouldn't see, and stuff like that. But I'm super excited for that next part of our journey as a father son to start to get him to understand what that is and how you can build things. And I show him all the time as well what I'm building. I go, hey, look, this is our Facebook group. Like we've got nearly 3,000 people in there. He's like, 3,000 people? That's amazing. And then I'll show him webinars that we've done, or he'll be on some webinars like Johan that you were talking about earlier. Finn was on that. It was the very first SaaS Dads podcast that we had. And in typical SaaS Dads fashion, I hadn't looked at the calendar properly and didn't realize that he actually wasn't at school that day. I thought it was the first day back after holidays, but they were having a kid-free day or a teacher-only day, whatever it was. So Finn was there, so he was a little guest on that podcast as well. So I try and show him all these things at the same time. Go, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm building online. These are the things. I show him the Stripe account. I go, hey, look at this. This is how much money we made today. He's like, wow, that's amazing. To get him in that frame of mind for when we can start to do it together. But up until now, it's been very much a, hey, you don't have those things and just free run to go on that, because I want him to use his brain and think, and that seems to have worked pretty well to date, I'd say, in terms of his progress. So, but the next stage of the journey and teaching him about AI, which we do use sometimes, like together, we'll use it together and talk to ChatGPT and just talk to it and say, hey, create me the most amazing monster truck that you can ever see in the world, or whatever it might be. He's just walked into the room behind me. Do you want to come and say hello to Andy? You can be on another podcast. Come and say hi to Andy. I don't know if you can hear through here. Can you say hi?
Hi, Finn. Can you hear me?
Yep.
How are you?
Good.
That's
Andy.
phenomenal.
Andy.
I heard that you read a Harry Potter book on your own. Is that right?
Yeah. I read the whole series when I was like 6.
And how old are you now?
Huh?
How old are you now?
I don't know.
You don't know how old you are? How old are you going to be in a month's time? It's your birthday soon. You're going to be 8.
He said when I was 6, but I forgot my current age.
All right. Give me 10 minutes, mate. I'll be out. All right. Thanks, buddy.
I love it. I love it.
So he's always around in the background. Like he sits in the corner there a lot of the time when I'm doing webinars and meetings and stuff like that. There's actually my office, even though I have this little funky background, whatever. My office is it is a bedroom, but it's like a spare bedroom that no one has ever slept in. And there's a bed in the corner in there just in case someone wants to sleep in there. So he has a camp that he basically builds on there most of the time. So
I like it. I like it, man.
So it is good, and it's good for them to see that. And that's what I said to you when you cancelled the first time. Like I didn't mind at all. I was like, yeah, you should bring your daughter on. You could feed her on the podcast. That'd be cool.
I know. When you said that, you had sent it to me after the fact, and then I was like, you know what? I could have technically, right?
Yeah.
That is a moment where even in that moment I learned, like, okay, how could I have done double dipped, right? Because instead I rescheduled with you and I said, hey, I got to feed my daughter. As a newborn, they cry, they got to eat every 2 hours or so. But I could have technically double dipped and said, yeah, I'm doing the SaaS Dads podcast. Of course, let me bring in my daughter while I feed her, and then like you can see it live in action.
Yeah, no, it's all good though, mate. I totally understand, because that was a week or 2 weeks ago, and then you were only 2 weeks into being a new dad, and it's such a new journey at that stage, because like I didn't even understand when we first had our son and we're in the hospital, and they're like, yeah, so you need to feed them every 3 hours. So okay, yeah, so feed them 3 hours and you do that, and there you go. But it's every 3 hours from when you start the feeding. And I was like, but it can take an hour and a half to get the feed done and the nappy change, and then you got to get them back to sleep, and then you might have, if you're lucky, you've got an hour and a half in between before you start that again. I was like, oh my God, how are we going to survive?
It's a learning curve for sure.
That was some wild and unexpected stuff for us anyway. But It sounds like, yeah, you've definitely put things together, and respect to what you've done in terms of building the business beforehand with that vision for the family. I think that's amazing, mate. So, future, I guess at the moment you've talked about building things so that you can have all that time with your daughter as you go. That's the plan for now. And you're gonna,
Yeah, we wanna do a lot. Like I think the future is gonna be end up being like in the next 5 years or so, some type of either private school or even homeschooling. But I don't know how the world's gonna change. Like there's a lot of things in the school system that I was unaware of. And
mm,
as I became a father, as when my wife got pregnant, I started doing more research. Like, oh, what's the school system gonna look like? What's the school journey gonna look like? And just seeing some of the nonsense that's taking place in the United States in the school system, in the public school system, I'm reconsidering it because realistically, when I see if you have a vision for your family, you have a vision for your child, who they can be, and how much value they're going to have in the marketplace. Someone said to me, it's really going to be the impact between pretty much 0 to 7 is where the most impact is going to be made.
yeah,
7 to 15, they're on their own journey of discovering themselves underneath your leadership. And then after 15, man, they get a driver's license at 16. They're in the world, and they're just patiently waiting for 2 years to leave. If from 0 to 7, if I'm saying, or from 0 to 15, if I'm saying you are spending more time with the school that has different philosophies than at home.
mm,
And then I was getting a haircut, and my barber comes to my house, gives me a haircut, and I was getting a haircut, and he gave me a perspective that I don't think I'll ever forget because it's been a long time since I've been in the school system. And he said to me about his little brother, he's still in school, and he knows some of the teachers, and some of the teachers have their own personal struggles. They're on drugs, behind outside of school, they're on drugs, they can't pay their own rent, they're struggling, but they're going to teach, a second grade class.
mm,
So yes, this 22-year-old, this 23-year-old who's now got their certificate to be a teacher is now teaching the second grade class, and subtly they're teaching their philosophies on top of the school curriculum. They're teaching their mindset, their philosophies. So when my daughter comes home and and I make an effort to refrain from saying that you can't do something, and the teacher says, "No, you can't do that," but at home, I refrain from saying you can't do it because I believe you can do anything. Anything you put your mind to, you can do, right? Or we have a mindset of abundance at home. You want to create something, create value for other people. They give you the money. You go ahead and you accomplish it. But then a teacher could easily have the mindset of, well, work your 9 to 5 job, whatever your salary is, whatever your hourly wage is, and that's how you live. So if they're teaching that, and I'm teaching something different, and they're spending 8 hours there, and I'm spending whatever 3 hours, 4 hours in the evening, they have a bigger influence on my child. So I've talked to my wife, like, hey, I don't know if the school system is the public school system is where we want to start.
mm,
If we want to go there, is there a private school system, or is there a that we can control the narrative, or is there even homeschooling available that we can control the narrative? Because if I can tell my daughter from now, like even today, Gary, at this stage, my daughter, we're doing tummy time. She lays down on the flat, and then we're trying to get her neck up so that way she strengthens her muscle on her neck.
yeah,
And I put my hand on her feet, and she starts to push, and she pushes across the couch. So I'll put my hand there on her feet. She pushes, boom, and I'm like, keep going, girl, and push. And she's smiling. Put a month old, push, and she gets to the end of the couch. I'm like, you did it. You can do anything. You're
mm,
powerful. You're amazing. You're a leader. And so by the time that she gets older, as I continue to do this, those elements is who are you? When people ask her, who are you? I'm amazing. I'm powerful. I'm a leader. I can do
yeah,
anything. Versus, who are you? My name is, so and so, Audate, and I'm 13 years. I'm 12 years old. Different narrative. So
yeah,
when I say to my daughter, "Who are you?" I'm like, "You're powerful. You're amazing. You're intuitive. You're innovative. You're a creator." Right? I think the words that we say have so much. Like in times that my wife says certain things, like, "Man, I," in moments of frustration, and I'll remind her, like, "Hey, we don't say that. But same thing in my household, in myself. I'll say things like, man, I wish I could do that. But it's like, why can't you? Can you?
Mm.
What does it take to create that result? And it's like, you know what? Instead of saying, I wish I can do that, you're right. Let me change my perspective too. I can do that. How can I do that to create the result? So we can change our words. If we change our words, we can change our world. And same thing with my daughter. So that's the future. What I see for us is like me just really pouring into my daughter and even changing some of the things that I say to myself. So that way I can become a better dad for her.
Yeah, mate, 100% right. The words, it's so powerful what you're putting in there, and the way that you talk to them, the narrative that you have with your kids, the conversations, the whether you're a, you shouldn't be a yes parent, you shouldn't be a no parent. You got to let them take their own journey and ask them questions and guide them. That's the part. And something you said there about like those stages they go through, that 0 to 7 and then up to 15, and then at 15 they're waiting 2 years until they can leave. That I think about that a lot because I'm bringing Finn up to be independent and without me. Like that's my whole goal. It's like, that's my job. It's like, you have to go out and be on your own. Take care of yourself. Like, I don't mind what you do as long as you're happy and you're managing your own way in life and funding your life. And that could be whatever level you want, right? And I have aspirations that hopefully he does, even better than we've done. But if he's happy and he plays guitar and he loves, like he doesn't right now, but I'm just giving this as an example, but let's just say he takes up musical instruments and he wants to play guitar, and his level of playing just means that he's good enough to play in bands in the local club scene, but that pays his bills and he has a home and he provides for his family. That's perfect. If you're happy, that's perfect. So you got to support all those things as you go through, but there's also always that mindset of like, I'm doing this so that you can leave and make sure that you are sustainable in the world on your own. And part of that with the school system as well, when we were picking schools for Finn, so he's in a very good school here. We put him into a private school. And when we were looking around at schools, we went to a couple of different ones, and there was one that was a local Catholic school. And when we went there, the open day, as it were, they had the principal for the school, and he did a presentation, like a PowerPoint presentation to the parents. There was like a couple hundred parents there with their kids in tow, and this is in where I live in Queensland. It's like subtropical. This was in sort of summertime, so it's like 36 degrees C, which I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit anyway, but it's pretty hot. High humidity, like 85% humidity. I mean, you're sitting under some shade, but that's still hot. Like, you're not getting away from that. And he did like a PowerPoint presentation for an hour to us. And we're sitting there at that time with a 4-year-old just coming up for 5 because this is preschool. So he's sitting there with me. He's like, "This is so boring, Dad." I'm like, "Oh my God, you're not wrong, mate." I was like, "I can't disagree with you. This is boring. You've just got this principal droning on at us." And then we went to their interview. They want to interview you for the school to see if you can go there. And it was like a test. So they brought us into a room, and it was like they quizzed me and my wife, and then our son was made to sit at a little desk next to us, and they're like, "Okay, we want you to," I can't remember what they said exactly, but write a small story and draw a picture of your mum and dad or something. And they kind of like, it felt so judgmental. We were sitting there and it was like super judgmental, and we walked out. I was like, "I hate this place. This is not nice." And then we went to another school, and we got there and we were waiting for the appointment, the lady, and she came out to the reception area. We were kind of sitting with Finn, and she's like, "Hey, my name is," whatever her name was, Jane, I forget. "My name's Jane. So what we're going to do, and the way that we find out best to get to know the kids, is we're going to go on a walk. So we can walk around the school. There's 3 playgrounds on the way. He can play in each of the playgrounds as we go through. I'm just going to have a chat to him. We'll show you the school. We'll show you where the classroom block is that he could potentially go to." And that's how we like to get to know the kids. And it's like, that's the school. It's like, they get kids. Like just sitting a kid at a desk is like, that's not happening. And that was one of the other things actually as well with the principal. I remember this when he was doing his PowerPoint presentation. He said, "Your children are not used to sitting down at a desk for 6 hours a day. We are going to teach them to sit still for 6 hours a day." I was like, "Oh no." No. This is like a young kid. Like, that's not what they're designed to do. And like, I mean, we do that in business. Like we tend to sit down at a lot of computers, right? But That's how we do our stuff. Or some people don't. They'll move. They have their treadmills or whatever it might be. But I was like, that's not. Like, you're going to fix that into a kid at the age of 5. That's your goal. Is you need to sit still for 6 hours a day. I was like, that's terrible. So I know. Go through. You'll go through the journey, I'm sure, and you'll make the right decisions.
I'm excited,
I know
man.
you will.
You know, I'm excited to go through that journey and just be present and be loving and care for her, man. Seriously.
Yeah. Mate, I think you're going to do an amazing job, mate. You're going to be an amazing dad. If you've gone into it as you have with this idea of building your business and everything to have the family and to be where you are, I mean, it's like I say, all power to you, mate. You've worked hard. You've put yourself in the position where you are, and you know, your family are going to reap the rewards from that. I'm sure that you're going to do incredibly well as a dad, mate.
Well, I appreciate you, my friend, for having me on this and being, you know, having me be a part of this.
Mate, thank you so much. I just want to wrap this up with, well, best way for people to connect with you. We'll make sure there's some links for Andy. What's the best website for you, mate, if you want to say that? And we'll make sure we've got the best things to people can connect with you on.
Yeah, website is going to be andyaudate.com. And then to learn more about our Go High Level business, go to ghlengine.com. We power a few hundred Go High Level agencies, and then we coach over 1,300 Go High Level agencies on how to be successful with high level. And then on social media, contact me at Andy Audate.
Perfect, mate. So I just want to wrap this up. 2 things I want to ask. Well, first of all, is there anything you think we haven't covered here that's important to share with new dads?
I think what's important to share with new dads, if you're brand new, if you're a pre-dad, get some context as to what the first couple of weeks are going to be like. Yeah, learn what the first couple of weeks are going to be like, and identify systems that you can bring on help. It does take a village. So I'm grateful. Some people, even in the Go High Level community, came to my house, brought me food, like big baskets of healthy cooked foods that they meal prepped for me, and you know, all the tools from the bassinet to the, like, I generate income. I make enough money, more than enough money for my family, and I'm creating more income and more revenue for my family. But still, I got a lot of help. I ended up saying yes. And I think what you need to understand is just say yes. When someone's willing to support you, just say yes. So a lot of the bottle cleaner, the bottles, the bassinet, some of the clothes, diapers, all of these things were the crib, the stroller, a lot of these things were given to us as gifts. And I even went to social media and I gave social media the opportunity to get me gifts for my family. And people went on there and said, hey, I'm going to send you some stuff that I know that's going to be helpful. And that's definitely been helpful. So say yes when someone, you know, I'm sure you can make all the money in the world, but still say yes. Allow other people to help you, whether it's time, them coming over to help you clean the house, them coming over to give you food, them sending you gifts with some of the tools that you may need to help raise your new child. Just say yes. That's the biggest thing I would say.
Perfect, mate. Mate, thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the rest. Well, it's evening time for you, isn't it? So enjoy the rest of your evening. I don't know if your daughter's gone to sleep, but enjoy all the time with her, mate. You deserve it. And thank you so much for giving us a part of your time today, mate. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, my friend. Bye
Thank you, mate.